Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cozy Content Corner, or welcome to the Cozy Content Corner if this is your first time. Today, I am joined by my friend Ariana, and a little bit about Ariana before we start. So, she is an amazing certified director of operations who helps high achieving female entrepreneurs break growth plateaus by optimizing their businesses for their next big milestone. After posting her very first TikTok, which don't worry, we're going to get into all of her TikTok success and all the tea, she had the internet tell her that she was on the wrong career path. While she's been and done lots of things, she's been organizing businesses, building systems, and streamlining processes in every business she's ever touched. Since that post, she's channeled those skills and energy into becoming a certified director of operations and strategist and specializing in operations and financials. Ariana wants you as a high achiever and female entrepreneur to know that you can build a life you want without losing time for yourself or your family. So, Ariana, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, we met on TikTok.
Mhm, Indeed.
Yes. And you actually started on TikTok like well before me, I think. Can you like take us back to like when you got on TikTok, when you started posting all the tea?
Yes. Okay. So we were probably deep pandemic at this point. So I had already gone through all of my mental health issues.
We've
And
already had all of our mentee bees at this point.
but if there was one thing that was keeping me going during the pandemic was my job. And I had been part of a two-person team. And then at some point, because everyone was stressing about the pandemic, financials were just really important. So we had work, but I was very reliant on like this is what was keeping me going every day. And at some point, we had enough work to like expand the team. So I went from being a project manager who only managed herself to a project manager that managed people. So that was literally the like I was like, I should go on TikTok and talk about this just for fun. I had no plans. I had no expectation of like making a business out of it. I just was gonna like post a TikTok and it immediately blew up. My very first TikTok was just me being like, so I'm a project manager and I'm not managing me. I'm not managing 4 people and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'll trade you like Asana tips and Slack tips if you guys will help me figure out what the heck I'm doing. And well, that started a whole thing. And so it blew up, and that's how I got like majority of my followers when I have about 22.3 right now. Like
Hell
majority of
yes, you
them did
do.
come. It's good, it's great. And a big chunk of them came from that like big first push. Like I got on TikTok and it just kind of blew up from just talking about that. And it was easy to talk about software because it's all I did all day.
So now was that in 2020?
That was 2000, I think I want to say 2021.
Okay.
20, I think so. Something like it was January of one of those years.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was really when TikTok was blowing up.
Yes. Yes. It was.
So have you noticed shifts in the platform since you first started posting?
Yes. It's
Okay. All
why I
right.
always.
Let's hear about it.
Absolutely, because it's why I always say that like I got a big chunk of those people in the beginning because there was a window, and I really do need to check if it was like 2020, but there was a window where like you could get on TikTok, post your first TikTok, and it would go insane. And I had such a big push in those first like 3, 4, 5 months, but I also had no business. Like I was just like, I mean, people reached out to me like, "Will you help us do this?" And I like took some side jobs, but I had no like company, so I didn't have a message. I was just talking to other operations people, but it really diluted my message. So as I've been doing it for a few years now, I've seen it slow down and the algorithms have really shifted, and it's not as easy as it used to be to just like go viral with the most random thing. Like you really have to be strategic. And it's been a while since I've gone viral, but I've learned that now it's more about like the community I can create with the people that are looking at my videos.
Oh, 100%. So when did you realize that you needed to start your own business?
So because that was such a catalyst for me, like because I literally got on there and was like, oh, everyone, the very second video I posted, people were like, you're not a project manager. I'm like, oh, first of all, rude. Like they're breaking it down like you're an operations manager if this is all you've been doing. And to be fair, There was only two of us. So I was picking up the slack of like, well, let me organize this. Let me build a system. And when someone's giving you work and they're just dropping on your plate and you're a person like me who's like, I am stressed out. So I was like, what if I built this and you can submit it through here? And then I would have the work all lined up in Asana. And that was like game changer, right? So that was the conversations I was having and putting out there. And I feel like I've lost the original question. What was your original question?
So, no, that was helpful, but when did you realize that you needed to start your own business and stop just doing like, here are some free Asana tips?
Yes. So that whole progression of me like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. People were constantly being like, oh, you're doing operations. Oh, you're doing operations. So that put me in a phase where I was like, what the heck is operations? Because when you work in small businesses, that's not the word that comes up right away. Admin comes up, administrative
Mm-hmm.
support, virtual assistants, but like operations is just not thought of. So I Googled it and I started looking, and there was an entire program called the Director of Operations certification through the Ops Authority. And I was like reading it and I was like, I have done 5 of the 6 things that they're talking about. And I've been doing that in most of the jobs I've had because I don't know, I just a natural learner. And so that was the beginning. And I just went and started getting that certification. And when I left the certification after the 6-month program, that was when I was like, it's time to make the shift.
Okay, amazing. So this next thing I want to talk about, I feel like a lot of people struggle with, and I feel like a lot of people are in this boat, which is where they maybe have gotten onto a platform and they didn't have anything to sell yet, but then they shift into a business. So how did you kind of shift your messaging and start talking about the fact that, hey, there is something that you can buy from me. There is a next step that you could take.
Yeah. Well, one was getting really familiar with what I wanted to do. And that was not an overnight process, especially because getting the certification gave me some areas of focus, and it gave me a skill set, and it gave me a badge. Like I can say I'm certified in this. And it was great at the job that I had at the time. Like I was still working at that job. However, I needed to understand who I wanted to serve. So
Mm-hmm.
before I could really figure out how to change my messaging on TikTok, I had to figure out like, who am I talking to? And one of the challenges I had was because I'd just been talking, I had actually pulled in a lot of like-minded people, which meant I had people who were in operations following.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to sell to people who they worked for.
It's
And that
such a common thing that I see, though. So many people do that, and they end up attracting just people that do what they do.
and that can be a challenge. And again, because I didn't start out as a business and I didn't start out talking to business owners, it's really when you start talking about how to organize Slack, it's not a CEO who's like, what a great idea. Like it's an operator, your admin assistant. I was like, oh my God, I so need this because this place is driving me crazy. So I just had to, it's been an ongoing process. The biggest change for me and the stuff I'm working on the most now is outlining my own framework and figuring out
Hmm.
how to talk about that and making my message focused on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. Like, it is really hard. And like you said, it's not an overnight thing where you go from like just sharing free tips and tricks to having your entire messaging nailed down and people flocking to you. Like, it's not. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that's me, like I finally have something to sell and I'm having a little bit of a tough time, like that's normal. Like, it takes a hot minute. It takes a lot of testing to see like, okay, how do I attract people that need my help versus people that are doing
Doing it.
exactly what I'm doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I'm so happy that you shared that. Now, how about this? Because I feel like this has changed too. When you first got on TikTok, do you remember how often you were posting?
There was a shift. There's a massive shift that comes when you do finally know what you're trying to sell and you're trying to convert people to do. What
Hmm.
happens, there was a massive ease that came in the beginning when I was just talking about stuff I felt like talking about. But now I have a purpose behind why I'm posting. And not to mention, it's also like I wouldn't kill to have what I have now mentally in my framework when I launched my
That,
TikTok. Like
yep.
Because it could have been a game. I mean, I would have probably launched a six-figure business that first year with the amount of engagement stuff that I was having. So it can be challenging. So I think that has caused me to get into my head. So in the beginning, again, super easy. And now I have this framework and these things, and I'm constantly thinking like, what do I need to be saying? What hook do I need to be using? How do I get people to engage with me? And it's a lot more at stake now. So I still have to like I have like a battle between like I'm grateful for TikTok for still being like chill. Like I don't have to like get all fancy. But I would probably say I used to post easily 3-4 times. And now it's like a struggle to post like 2 or 3 because I'm constantly thinking about my message.
Yeah. And that's what happens. And I was just talking about this with somebody, like they were like, "Well, what was your strategy when you first got onto TikTok?" And I said, "Oh, none. I had no strategy." And I said that that was probably the best thing that could have happened because it allows you to play, which
Yes.
is what I think a lot of
Yeah.
business owners have a hard time with is playing and testing because so many people want the perfect spreadsheet and the perfect amount of times to post and the perfect plan, but that's not how you find out what hits with your audience, especially on a platform like TikTok, where the culture is so different from anywhere else on the internet. So can you talk to us about like your experience with like the culture and community on TikTok compared to other platforms?
Oh my goodness. So my once upon a time I used to be a wedding photographer. And I
Oh
bring
my
that
God, I
up.
did not know that.
Yes, I was a wedding photographer for 9 years.
Oh my
It was my
gosh.
first business, and I gave it up probably right for the pandemic. Think everything like that would have been chaos, but I I lived the Instagram era, which is why I bring that up. The 8 to 9 years that I was doing it, that was when Instagram came out. I was doing a very visually heavy service, right? And never in the entire time I was doing that, even though had a really good following, it was really easy to get people to like people liked me, and I found like a lot of great clients. I'm not saying my marketing was bad, but I never had the level of engagement and interaction and following and like increase in followers like I have in TikTok. Like Instagram never, and now Instagram's even harder than it ever was before.
Oh yeah.
It's a totally different vibe. And Instagram got very, very stuffy very, very quickly. And TikTok has
Hmm.
managed to stay fairly chill, very relaxed, and people prefer authentic and relaxed.
Oh my gosh, so much so. Like if listeners haven't heard me talk about it before, like it is literally like a FaceTime. Like I have recorded videos where I'm still wearing my pajamas. I have definitely not put on a bra yet. My hair is in a bun. Like and sometimes those videos pop off because if I'm recording like that, I'm probably recording some kind of hot take, which is gonna get a lot of traction, which would probably tank on Instagram or get a lot of hate. So the culture is just totally different. Totally different.
I
So
agree.
now, and I mean, you and I have talked about this before, but I just want our listeners to hear. So now, what percent, and you don't have to give me an exact percent, but like how much of your leads come from TikTok versus other platforms?
100%.
Yeah.
I'm comparing platforms, all my leads come from TikTok. If I'm
Yeah.
comparing like word of mouth and referrals, I could probably filter in a little bit of a number, but
Yes.
all unexpected leads, TikTok. I find, here's a fun fact. If someone follows me from TikTok to Instagram, my conversion rate goes up.
Yes. And I
Like,
talk about that all the time. I literally like that is my social media funnel is TikTok, Instagram, DMs and email,
mhm,
and then usually a sale or
mhm.
they hop into a freebie or something, but something off of social media. But yes, like if you can get people from TikTok to Instagram because the stories are better on Instagram, the direct message capabilities are better on Instagram. I'm not surprised that the conversion goes up because it's so much more of an easy conversation. However, they've probably binged and have been in your space on TikTok.
Yep. I had a sales call recently and they landed in there and I asked her, one of the first questions I ask on my sales calls are, so did you find me on TikTok? And they're like, yeah, I've been following you. And I'm like, was there any particular video that, and she was just like, honestly, I can't think of which video it was, but it was your energy. She's like, I have been
Mm-hmm.
following you for months, as they all are. They're stalking you, they're watching you.
Yes.
They don't have anything on their profile. You're not going to see them. They might still be user 101, but
Yep.
they're following you. And then I realized, like there's some video that just finally is the nail in the coffin. They're like, I'm going to call her. I'm going to schedule a call. Let's do it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been a consistent process for every lead I've gotten.
Yeah. And quick tip, because somebody has asked me about this in the past. So like on Instagram, a lot of people are stuck on like, oh, I gotta delete all my bot followers. But on TikTok, the person with the username, user 1012 dash net, like that can be a real person. So be careful before you delete those people because they could totally be your next customer. You never ever know.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for spilling that TikTok tea. I don't know if we're done talking about TikTok, but I want to move into a little bit of strategy and operations and things of that sort.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so now you have left working for somebody else, correct? And you are full in your own business.
I am 100% as of May.
Okay, tell us about that shift.
Ooh, that was a journey. My previous job was great. I'd been there for 5 years. But one of the things that happened with this whole TikTok experience was kind of getting into a field where I realized like this field is my zone of genius. And it was really serving me and it was making me excited. And I had managed when I first found out I had the wrong role. I did manage to get myself like a job pay increase. I negotiated some stuff with my boss and got the title of operations manager at that job because I'd realized, hey, look at all the things I'm doing that I'm
Yeah.
actively maintaining for you. So I worked that out. But I got to a space of growth that I really wanted to like put in that company. Like, I want to be your director of operations. And it just wasn't scaling in a speed. I just saw like months of me being stuck in the role I had,
Yeah.
the role I wanted to be, which spiraled into, and I had just finished the DOO certification. So now I had this certification, I had this like framework, I had this offer I could put out there. In September, I started really getting sales with my new offer, and I got several clients last year that many of which I'm still working with this year. And one of the shifts that came is I went to Growth Getters, which was a conference that was put on by the Ops Authority, which I will mention a lot because I am deeply and emotionally invested in that company. But I went to Growth Getters, and the biggest thing I walked out of was my own framework. Like, it was like, please organize all the things you're doing in the way that works for you. And I did. And
Yeah.
so since then, I felt like I was like, I can do this. And I came back, I sold it to two of the clients I already had. And I was like, it was a high ticket offer. It was not a low, like I need 4 clients a year for this offer. Right. And so I rolled it out. And once I got to that point where I felt confident about what I wanted to sell, I felt confident about my framework. That was the key to me saying I can walk away because I can really hone in on this in my messaging and in my services. And that was the game changer for me. So that was a full journey.
Yes. Yes. I love that. And I'm so happy for you and proud of you. And I've been on the journey with you since you were still working for somebody else. So this is very exciting. Um, okay. So a lot of people listening are solopreneurs.
Mhm.
They're a team of one, maybe they have a part-time VA. What are systems that you feel like teams of one, or what are systems or important kind of back end things that you feel like solopreneurs need to have in their business?
Okay. I want to say this way it doesn't overwhelm and scare people, but the systems that you should have should be every system, but probably your deliverable. And I say that before you guys get scared. I say that, let me give some clarity. Lead generation. You get a lead and they land in your inbox and you ignore that lead, there's no sales, right? So
Mm-hmm.
finding a way to like implement a CRM or automate the replies or get your VA focused on that is essential because that's what keeps the money flowing, right? It doesn't require your special skill set to build a lead management process, contract management process, accounts receivable process. The processes that just keep money flowing and keep the business moving, all of those can be found ways to automate and streamline or outsource. And those are the things that make you doing your job not overwhelm you, because once you have so much client work, that billing is a problem, that replying to leads is a problem, that hiring a person is a problem. That's a really overwhelming space to be. And then your marketing gets behind, and then your leads slow down, and then you just have this whole ongoing problem. So the biggest thing I do is the stuff that doesn't need to change, the stuff that is just easily repeatable. Find a way to build a system. So lead management, contract management, accounts payable, accounts receivable, customer service, like email management, especially if you have a VA who can pick up these pieces. Those are things that I would be looking at. Okay, how do I make me not have to do that stuff?
Yes.
That way, the thing that you're a zone of genius, if you're a solopreneur, you obviously have a skill that's really, really good, and that's really just you. That is going to be harder and takes a little bit more work to hand off and like get support on. So put that, further down the road, but you can automate a lot of the rest or streamline the rest.
Yeah, like even me, like since implementing automations, like I feel like so much has been taken off my plate. And like I use the CRM Dubsado,
Yeah.
and so like my invoices are automated. I have just a general, like not general, I specify it's my offers, but like a proposal that is already done that Dubsado implements all the customization into and sends out. My calendar is automated. People book calls, they get automated reminders. Like that is stuff that I would have had to be sitting at my computer, sending out texts, sending out emails, reminders, and that's all off my plate now.
Yes, 100%. And I think people get scared about that, and I don't know how to explain. Like, I know you're used to writing each email and you want to feel like you're
Mhm.
getting personal touch. But let me tell you, having a template pop up that reminds you, don't forget to do your call to action. Don't forget to link to your offers. Don't forget, at least having that is better than, okay, let me spend an hour editing and rewriting this email, making sure it sounds perfect. You will create more work for yourself when you have to do it manually every time. And our time, I think people don't realize when you launch a business, you're the CEO and the department manager of every department. You don't have your time is very valuable, and you might not think so because we're still in those like limiting beliefs and like, oh, I don't know if I can charge $175 an hour. But honey, you are a department manager for 7 departments. Like you are the
Mhm.
CEO. The hour you're spending replying to an email versus the hour you could be spending doing money making actions, the value is in the wrong place. And so finding
Yes.
streamline the stuff that's not making you money, that's really helpful.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Now, you have 7 pillars of business that
Yes.
you think are super important. And I have not heard you talk about this, so I'm interested to hear what these 7 pillars are and what we should be paying attention to.
So
Okay.
yes, I do have 7 pillars, and I use them a lot. They're big basis for strategic planning, but the easiest way I find to look at it, and I learned this in my training, you run a business, there are 7 primary departments. And if you walk into a corporation, they all have department heads. They all have, their own projections and goals for the quarter and expectations and output. Like they all have their own. You walk into a company, you're never going to walk to the finance department, they're like, well, what does the CEO want us to do? Like they have their own processes. But when we're running these small businesses, we kind of get overwhelmed with like the deliverable of what we're doing. But we
Mm-hmm.
still have these other departments. They still exist, whether they are in the forefront of our mind or not. So when I think about that, the 7 pillars to me and that I talk about with my clients are operations, obviously. How is your business running? Finance and like business growth. How much money are you making? And are you thinking about as a solopreneur, not just how much you need to make in revenue, but like how much you want to take home? How much profit margin do you have? Like all those little fun things that aren't really sexy words. But if you're
But they're important.
you need to learn them at some point, and you could be shooting yourself in the foot. Again, coming from a wedding photography background, I know creatives who love what they do and undercharged and burnt themselves out consistently.
Yeah.
So like not understanding margins is really important. So financials, marketing is another one, visibility and marketing. Where do you want to go? Do you know who your people are? Do you have understanding on who you're marketing to? Product development. Every time, everything we do has to be consistently reviewed and renewed and optimized and streamlined. And so are we wanting to launch new products? Are we staying relevant to our field? Are we social media managers who haven't looked into social media um, notes and information and like what's the latest social media updates? If you aren't doing that, so product development in a way that works with your industry. Customer experience is the fifth. How do your customers experience working with you? We can get really caught up in how we're delivering, but what do they feel? How long does it take to get the email? What does the email say? Is it filled with typos? Does it take you 2 years to send that? It takes you a week to send that email because you've been stressing out. Team growth is the other, knowing where you're going, adding people to your people. And finally, professional development. We don't launch businesses to like, we do it to serve us at some point. And the goal is to not work for corporate, to not have to be under someone else's rules. So we want to grow as a person, and we want a business that serves us, and we want to go out and be thought leaders. And so taking time to understand what the goals are for you as a person and how you can keep growing for your industry is the seventh. So recap: ops, finance, marketing, product development, customer experience, team growth, and professional development.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like we as business owners, and I say this with love and not to bash anyone, but like I feel like we neglect so many of those areas.
Yes,
Like
especially.
like you said, like we are so focused on the deliverable that like we totally neglect what the client experience is.
Mhm.
Um, or we are so stuck in what we've done for the last 2 years that we forget to like stay up on what's currently working. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, but I feel like people that have been in the online business space for a long time are having trouble being flexible with all of the new goings on, what's working, how to show up. Like, I feel like so many people are stuck in, well, I've been doing this for 10 years and it's worked for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know your thoughts about that.
It's funny, like when we'll say that now, but like if any of us heard that from someone we worked in corporate with, we'd be like, and get
Right.
on the internet.
Yes.
So I hear it too. And I think it's how like being in the operations space, I don't feel like that's a word that's used in small businesses, but it is the auditing of how your company works, the
Hmm.
proactive approach. Having a VA, having an administrative assistant, make sure that anyone who sends you an email, they're going to get a reply. But having an operations person is, you got an email of them complaining about something. Okay, how do we make this never happen again?
Yeah.
And it's a component that a lot of people are really missing, especially in small businesses. Like they're not really auditing themselves so that they can be aware, oh, these are consistent errors, these are consistent issues, these are consistent complaints. Let's fix it. And that's why they get stuck in this. This is what's worked for me. And that person who complained, they just don't get it. No, you probably could find ways to make it easier for them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%. And like, I don't know if you're the same way, but this is a constant work in progress for me, is learning to accept that feedback.
Yeah.
I am so sensitive, and I know people are like, you need to separate the business feedback from like people to like talking about you to the core of your being. It's not the same thing. But it's hard for me sometimes to, first of all, ask for the feedback. Second of all, receive it. And third of all, do something with it without that mindset of like, I effed up, like I didn't do something right.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And it's a conversation I have with all of my clients. Like it's really easy. And I get it. It's really easy for me to help them. It's really easy for me to be like, my favorite question is what's gone wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What failed? What email didn't go through? What issue came up? What complaint you get? That's where the growth is. But I understand how hard it is to hear it. And I sit with CEOs all the time and like it's adorable because they'll like, I'll tell them like this is something that went wrong. And they're like, well, here's why I did this. And they'll explain it to me. And I'm like, babe, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't
Like
care.
it's
The
okay,
client
girly.
has experience. I'm just here to figure out a solution so that this doesn't happen again for you. But I get where you came from. I know where it comes from. So we do have to like challenge that. But again, working with someone like that's why I love this field. It's like working with a strategist who is outside of it emotionally is the support. Like that's where I get to really come in. I have these conversations weekly and I get these explanations weekly. But I'm also like, honey, babe, sweetie,
Yeah.
boo. Doesn't matter.
And you know what? Like that just made me think about, so I have it automated now in my business after someone works for with me to get feedback.
Mhm.
And I think that takes a lot of the mental and emotional load off,
Mhm.
also from an energy perspective, because I don't have to type up the email. I don't have to be afraid to press send because I don't want to hear what they have to say. Like it's just gonna go out. It's gonna go out every time consistently. And whenever I'm ready to look at it, I can, but at least I have the feedback.
I'm a big proponent of data. And if we never ask
Hmm.
for data, we can't get better. We just
Yeah.
can't. And we put ourselves into a blind spot. And a lot of being a solopreneur, there's a lot of blind spots. So the ones that we can do, I love your idea of just like automate it. Again, that's why you asked me earlier, what can you automate as much as you can, as early as you can, before you get caught up in the client work, because this is something that you already know. If you're knee deep in clients and then you get some negative feedback, don't it's going to derail you. Having a
Hmm.
system and then taking the time, like, okay, it's the end of the month, time to get my daily dose of or my monthly dose of like, oh, okay, I'm sad. And most of the time you're going to get amazing feedback. So I think it's a really great way to handle it.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Um, Now the last thing that I want to talk about is, are there any shifts that you're seeing coming up in terms of like what we should be looking at in our business, or what we should implement new systems for that you think are really going to help people take that load again off of themselves if they are by themselves?
That's an interesting question. The thing is, software comes out all the time. New softwares that have been out, optimized all the time. You need to have probably a CRM and you need to have a task management program somewhere like ClickUp or Asana. Because the one thing
Can
that
you really quick, sorry to interrupt you, explain like CRM for dummies in case people don't know what that is?
so we talked about leads and contracts. CRM, the one I prefer to use is like Dubsado. There are much more detailed CRMs, and it really depends on like what type of business you do. Like HubSpot and all of them are also CRMs, but they get all fancy. And when you're a solopreneur, unless you're selling like a massive amount of products, CRM like Dubsado is really helpful because for me, I use that to manage leads, track leads, follow up with people, send contracts and proposals, get payments, send follow-up emails, nurture them. I mean, there are apps like MailChimp that do email sequences, but when I've got people like in my system, it's a great way to kind of nurture them until they get to a place of like, okay, I'm just gonna put you on the email list, right? So there is that's basically what the CRM is going to do. It's going to get those upfront payments, and it's going to streamline. I love being able to send one link via Dubsado, be like, thank you so much, here's your proposal, and they go, yes, sign, pay, done.
Mhm.
Automatic email, it says welcome to the program. Right? Like that takes away a huge chunk of those automations that we look for. So that's the CRM side. So those are things you definitely want to be looking at depending on what you're selling. On the other side, you also want like a task management software. I did say earlier,
Mm.
focusing on the systems around your deliverable is great, but at some point you're going to need an assistant to work on the work. Are you going to want to bring someone in who might be able to like replicate you? So keeping track of what you're doing, keeping track of the work you have, the clients, the deadlines, a place like ClickUp or Asana. People use Notion. I don't get it, but people love Notion. Things
I've
like that.
tried. I can't like get my brain around it. I use
I
Airtable.
Airtable is another great one. I feel like Notion is like the difference between like Android and like iPhone. Like, do I want to build my database before I even start using it? No, I just at least click if I can get started.
Yes.
But you need something in either way. But these are the things in any business, no matter how things are scaling and growing, they're going to be foundational. They may change. I've had businesses go from Asana to ClickUp. They're going to change, but foundationally, you need to have some place to store your tasks, some place to handle contracts. You don't want to be having to use Gmail and DocuSign and QuickBooks. You need to find some place that can streamline some of these things, or you will find yourself adding more and more time to your plate.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you mentioned the project management system because that is so important as a solopreneur. Like it ends up being an extension of your brain. So, I mean, the ones I know you could use Airtable for free, like completely for free. I don't know about ClickUp. Is that free?
ClickUp has a free version. I think there's some limitations on how much you can customize it. And so almost always you'll go into like the thing, but it's one of the cheaper options out there. Like they're
Right, right. It's not super expensive.
5 and 9 per user. Like it's pretty low.
Yeah. So if you don't have a project management system in place, highly recommend that you get one. It is, like I said, literally ends up being an extension of your brain. It's so helpful to just like store everything that you do not have the mental capacity to keep remembering.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
should do anyway, because that's a lot of load and pressure on yourself.
Well, for sure. And one thing that I've been working on really hard and that we're rolling out for my business is a mentoring group program, because we do have a lot of solopreneurs that come through and aren't really sure where to start. And so a big component of what I do as an operations strategist is getting those mission, vision, and values lined in. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't actually know where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that we're trying to like build out and that we're offering now is going to be giving you some of those templates, giving you some of those like working through like, okay, where is your company growing? What spaces do you need to have in ClickUp? What things you need to start tracking? Here's a template to like for your recurring tasks, like getting people that information, because it is a lot to think about all at once. And if you could just sit down and be like, okay, someone's guiding me through this and I'm going to Slack them because I don't know what I'm doing. Like that's what we're trying to offer at our company now.
Yes, I love it. I was creeping on your Instagram stories and I saw that and I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be friggin' incredible. So
Excited.
I'm so excited that you're doing that. And so if people want to work with you or take a next step with you, what are their options?
Oh, absolutely. So our biggest thing again is obviously strategy. So we have 3 ways to work with us. We have a VIP strategy day, which is great for people who are quick start CEOs who just need to like someone tell me how to make a plan, and it helps us understand where you're going and then give you sort of a 1 year plan and you get it all done in a day. So that's our one way to work with us. And then the other thing we are launching is our group coaching program, where we are bringing people in to kind of DIY, especially solopreneurs, like we've been talking about a lot today, kind of DIY some of your templates, get those things into your systems, figure out what softwares work for you, and then get access to a strategist on a regular basis. You can kind of figure out these issues and questions and things that go wrong. So that group coaching program is something we're launching in January. So we are taking people.
Yay.
Oh, we only have 10 slots, so we're super excited about that. And then the third way is once you've done a VIP strategy day, we open you up to our whole suite of services. So we can install projects for you. You can do Dubsado builds, or you can work with us on a one-on-one done with you program for 6 months where we get into your company itself and do all the things. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, fabulous. And where can they find the information for that? Is that just like through your link in bio on your socials?
100%. We take applications for people. So you can just go into any of our bio links and apply to work with us, and then we'll hop on a call and talk about what's the best fit for you.
Fabulous. But Ariana, thank you so friggin' much for coming on today. If people want more of you in their lives, where can they find you?
Oh my goodness. So I'm definitely on TikTok. Please find me on TikTok. I'm on there all the time. And then also Instagram is a great place to reach out to me. You can always DM me. And yeah, those are my two primary spaces. I've tried the LinkedIn stuff. So you
I
probably
know. Oh my gosh. Were you following me when I did my LinkedIn experiment? And I really tried. No, I tried all the features. I tried connecting with everyone. It was just not my space.
not doing it for me. But yeah,
Not my
TikTok is a
space.
great space. So definitely can connect with me there and Insta.
Okay, awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much again. And to everybody listening, I will see you on the next one.